changed the way she used money. By the way, this budget, also all my kids except Gracie is 5, but when she's 7, she's also put on a budget just like this. And so she doesn't have all these different levels, but you know, every kid, if you go to Walmart today and in the toy section, is saying, gimme, 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 gimme. And we give them for 18 years, and then they still want us to give them, give them, give them, give them, give them. When you put a kid on a budget, in other words, when Gracie turns 7 years old, that's when I start the budget, I'll give her $20 a week, which is probably what everybody spends on their kids anyway, with, you know, snacks and candy and all that kind of stuff. And so I give her a budget, $20 a week. She's got to clean floors, mop. She's got to do chores to earn that $20, but she gets to spend the money the way she wants to. If she wants to go to the movies, she uses it. I give her a giving, a saving, and a spending budget. And it's broken up. $15 is her spending budget, $4 is her savings budget, and $1 is her giving budget. The giving budget, they can do whatever they want with it. They can give it to the person on the side of the road, they can give it to church, whatever they want to do with it. And the spending budget they control too. Of course, when they're younger, you have to help them along and let them, you know, you got to kind of counsel them. If you spend all that money, you're not going to be able to come to the movies with us this weekend, okay? And you got to stick to that. Try that for 10, 15 years, okay? I have a 19-year-old, a 28-year-old, and a 14-year-old, and all of them have been on it. My kids don't ask me for anything. My kids will call me up. One of mine goes to college right now in Thibodeau. If he needs money, he'll call up and say, is there something I can do to earn money? It's a different attitude rather than, can you give me something? I hear that all the time from kids, and it's our fault because we're doing it to them for 15, 18 years and programming them. This way, all my kids start at 7 years old, and guess what? Christmas even changes. Because they have their own money, they're allowed to buy things, and then all of a sudden, instead of their brains always gimme, 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 at Christmas, I have a heck of a time trying to figure out what to buy my kids because they don't want anything. Because they're not in that whole advertising thing, they're not stuck in all that. They haven't been that gimme thing. They've earned it and they know how money works. And so you can do the same thing for that budget. You got entertainment and vacation. How many of y'all take a vacation every year? Very few people. Isn't it because by the time vacation comes, you can't afford it? If you came to my seminar last month on building credit, this is where I use Whitney Bank for my vacation. So what I do is I put $1,500 into a CD, and then I borrow $1,500 against the CD, okay? And I pay $131 every month to my CD, which is actually my vacation budget. So I'm building my payment history, right? And I'm building my vacation up $131 every month. It's easier to come up with $131 every month and go on nice vacations every year than it is to come up with $1,500, $1,600, $1,700. Okay, so if you want to use that for that, first thing you got to do is build the budget, put $131 per month in there as your budget, and if you can afford it, then you do it. If you can't afford it, you don't want to do it. Then you got all your debts. Now, I put some down here, but you can walk through them, change them, put whatever you want to put. Debts are defined as something that can be paid off, and we're not talking about bad debts. We're talking about good debts. So you don't want to put, you know, collection company. You want to put stuff that you're paying on now, and this is not including your cars because your cars was up on the last page. Once you've gotten all these debts together, what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to add them all up and we're going to have spending. So we got what you make, $4,000 a month. How much you spend, $3,900, okay? If you are making $4,000, you're spending $3,900, you got $100 every month to do something with, right? Remember, your budget's taken care of. You got groceries, cell phone, gasoline, you got your vacation, everything's in there, and you got an extra $100 a month. What a lot of times I find when I do a budget for somebody is that they may be making $4,000 and they tell me I'm overwhelmed, can't afford my bills, I'm working paycheck to paycheck, and then when we do the budget, at the end of the budget, they got $500, $600, $700 left over. And when I say, well, where do you think that money's going to? Where do y'all think that money's going to? If a person's overwhelmed in debt and they don't have any money, nothing in savings, and then when we do a budget, they got $500, $600, $700 on paper left over, what do y'all think's happened with it? They're blowing it because they didn't tell it where to go at. When you want something, you can't always get it. You have to plan for it. So once we take the income and the spending and minus it, we know what's called an accelerator payment, what's left over. What's left over is where we're going to build the savings with, we're going to build the emergency fund with, we're going to accelerate your debts off. So let's look at that. The last page here, this is everything that you have financed. Cars, trucks, guns, boats, anything that you're financing that you're paying on now, you want to list here. On this side, you want the interest rates. Here you want how many months you have left on that debt. Now, this is all for people that want me to build them a plan to accelerate their debts off. So I need to know what's the interest rate of the debt, how many months you have left. That means you got to call up the places and say, how many months do I have left on this debt? What's the balance as of the day you called them? And what's the minimum monthly payment? Minimum monthly payment, okay? If you send this to me without that, I can't do it. I can't build a budget for you. I'm going to show you what it's going to turn into. Here's an example of somebody that's actually came into the office. When I sat down with them, you see here they were making $8,700 a month. Good income, right? Credit was ruined, living paycheck to paycheck, overwhelmed in debt, and it was only 2 adults and 2 children, okay? But they were overwhelmed with making $8,700. They were spending like $9,700. So every month they was going behind. No budget at all. When you look at it, they only tied the $100. Mortgage $1,400. Everything rounded figures. It adds it up and shows you exactly every pay period or every 2 pay periods based on how you get paid, how much money needs to come out of each one of those and go into the budgeting plan. Gas, everything's there. So I didn't limit anything on them. They had blow money. He actually was a trucker, so he had spent $1,800 a month in fuel back then. Blow money's there, $800. So they had $148 left over every month, okay? After blow money, everything. They get to do everything they want, and they had an extra $148. So what do we do with that? First of all, let's talk, before I show you what their plan was, where do you keep the money at? If you get paid weekly, $500 a week, and you figure out that in your budget, $400 of it is for the budget, I use what's called an envelope system, which is one of these you can get from any Office Depot. Each one of the envelopes is each one of the sections of the paper, okay? So what happens is I get paid every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, I take my money and I disperse it into the envelopes. The budget told me where to put it at. And yes, I disperse it in cash. And so the reason I do it in cash is because I know it's there. I don't have to worry about checks. There's nothing in my checking account. It's all dispersed in cash. Can I overspend money doing this? I'd have to do it intentional. If somebody calls me and says, hey, man, let's go party this weekend in New Orleans, I go to my blow envelope and see what's in it. If nothing's in it, I have to be disciplined enough to say I can't go. That's the difference between using your brain and using emotion. The money's not there. Now, same example. Somebody calls me up and says, hey, let's go out party. And I look at my checkbook and I see $300 in it. And I say, sure, let's go. We go down there, we rent a hotel room, we party. I come back home, I open my mailbox, and there's my electricity bill. And that's how we live, isn't it? Because we don't pre-plan and we don't look at what we have. We don't look at, we got bills coming in. Instead of this way, you have to look inside the envelope and see. Now, if I have a grocery envelope, remember the seminar, I'm going to use my credit card to buy my groceries, right? Then when I come home at the end of that day, I go into my grocery envelope, I take the grocery money out, and I put it into the credit card envelope, because that's not my money. It's the credit cards. If I buy gas, I come home, I take the money out the gas envelope, and I put it into the credit card envelope. Because at the end of the week, I'm going to take the money out the credit card envelope, put it in my checking account, and pay the credit card off. I can't overspend that way. So the key is you don't want to buy $400 worth of groceries with your credit card and then use the $400 worth of groceries to do something else, okay? So blow money's in here. I actually have 2 of these because anytime I'm going to buy something, I make an envelope for it and I start saving. I start putting the money in there. I lot it out for the budget. Now, I was telling somebody earlier, even our company is debt-free. We own all of our computers, our overhead projectors, everything in our office is owned by us, and we do the same system. Even with the business, if we want something, I don't just go out and buy it. We start putting the money inside the envelope to pay for it. You can do this with your card. You can do it with everything in your life. You can have 3 budgets. You have the blow budget for the husband at the beginning of the month or every 2 weeks, whatever you give to him. Then you have the groceries, the vacation, the hair care, whatever the wife handles. If she does all the shopping, she gets all that. That's her budget, right? Then you got this budget is the households. It's not yours. At my house sits in a big concrete safe. In case the house were to burn down, I wouldn't want all my cash to go. So that's the one thing you got to get if you want to cash from the way I am. Is you got to get a lockbox that can withstand fire. And all you do is once a week, you do your budget if you get paid once a week. If you get paid twice a week, you do your budget twice a week. And you put the money into the fireproof safe, and you put it in your attic, hide it somewhere. Nobody can break in your house and steal it, and it's always there. Now, if you're on vacation, you're not going to be stressed the same way because you know your money's sitting back in the safe. The bills are all paid for. If your mortgage is $1,400 a month and you get paid every 2 weeks, $700 comes out and goes in that envelope. Does that make sense? So whatever your budget is, you break it into how many times you get paid that month, and you break the payments. If I have a $1,000 a month bill and I get paid every week, $250 is not mine. $250 goes in here. If I have a $400 a month blow budget, every week I get paid, $100 is mine. You see? I cannot overspend with this system. This system works so awesome that right now I'm working on April with both the office and personally. I'm always 1 to 2 months ahead because there's always extra money. And so I tend to also, if my budget for electricity is $200, I remember I said that's a worst case. So if I'm spending $200 every month, at some point I'm overspending, aren't I? So what I do is I usually stop in about October because Energy will send me, by the time October comes, they're sending me things that saying this is not a bill, we owe you money, right? So I can stop in October and I can start using my utility money for my Christmas presents that I'm going to buy and stuff like that. There is a Christmas budget in here, but I do mine that way. So I just take the utility money I was going to spend for those several months, put it together, and pay for Christmas. If you are in debt, you don't want to do that. You want to use that extra money to pay off debts, accelerate debts. Does anybody have any questions about this part?